Okay, good Davach. We're in the middle of a sugya of the idea of repetition being ma'akev. So we discussed with Pairas, Chuka, and both, either one, and then repetition of something. And Rav said that that's repeated, and therefore anything that's repeated is ma'akev. Shmuel said that it's not ma'akev. We questioned Shmuel. And Shmuel, it turned out there was some achloikis about a kli and a menachos, whether you put a kaimitz in a kli, but the ever lechatchila. And we're going through various places about it being ma'akiv, whether a double lashon is ma'akiv. And now we're up to two lines from the bottom. Mask v'lo Rav Huna. Rav Huna gets the following kasha. Mask v'lo Rav Huna. So two lines from the bottom on Yud Tes on the base. Hari Melach Deloy Tana Beikra, the Torah does not repeat it, Uma'akva Be. And nonetheless, it is Ma'akev. So, as you're telling me, in order to be Ma'akev, that you won't, if you don't do it, it's not kosher the carbon or whatever you're doing, whatever mitzvah you're doing. L'chayra, we have Melach, putting Melach on a carbon. It's not repeated. And even though it's not repeated, nonetheless, if you don't put Melach on the carbon, it's Ma'akev. The Tanya says, Bris Melach Olam Hu. What does that mean? Shetehei bris amra b'melach. Right, the bris should be melach. Rashi shlei tivsek mikarbanis. It should not stop from the carbon the melach. Bein l'Reb Yehuda, bein l'Reb Shimon, lakamidi elam hashmois darshan. I'm going to see another drash in a second. So there has to be what? There has to be melach on the carbon. Reb Shimon Ayman nema kam bris melach olam hu v'nema lahalam bris kahunas olam. Kashem sheyev shel kabanis blei kahuna, you need a kohen to do the carbon. Kach yev shel kabanis blei melach. So either way, whether you darshan according to Rabbi Yehuda or you darshan according to Rabbi Shimon, there's no difference. The bottom line is it's ma'akev. In other words, mashmois zoshon it can be nayo. How do you hear that halacha? But the halacha is that what? It's ma'akev, despite the fact that it's not repeated. That's the kasha Rav Huna is asking. So Amar Rav Yosef, Rav Kitana Didon. Rav who said you have to repeat something to ma'akev holds like Artana. So in other words, Rav Huna, you're asking on Rav. That Rav says in order to be ma'akev, it has to be repeated. Melech, it's not repeated. Comes along Rav Kahana to answer Rav. That what? Rav who said it has to be repeated holds like Atana. The Amar loy melech malach kasha enachinami. You're assuming that what? That if you don't put on melech, it is what? It's ma'akev. If you look back at our Mishnah, guys, right? If you look back at our Mishnah, what did the Mishnah say? On Yud Zayin Amid Aleph, excuse me, I went back too far. I went back much too far. You look back at our Mishnah on Yud Ches Amid Aleph. Our Mishnah on Yud Ches Amid Aleph. Lo Yatzak, if you don't do Yitzika, lo Balo, you don't do Belil, lo Pasach, you don't crumble, lo Malach. It says over there clearly, lo Malach. If you don't go ahead, what? And Malach. And we're learning Le'ilu Nishma Shlomo ben Moshe. So what do you see? No problem. You know what, guys? Since it's not repeated, it's not ma'akev, and therefore loy malach. If you don't salt the carbon, it's kosher. So Rav Huna, you're asking from this Tana? We have a Tana Didon, the Tana Rav Mishnah, who says that if you don't go ahead and do malicha, it's kosher. That's who Rav holds like. So it's not a kasha. Amalei Abaya, Ihachi. If you're telling me that loy malach means you didn't do it at all, it must be loy yotzak nami, loy yotzak klal. It means you didn't yitzika at all. And we said that what? How do we learn pshat that yitzika is only, you have to do yitzika, only that a zar did it. So ela loy yotzak kayin, ela zar. Hachanami, you're going to have to say loy malach kayin, ela zar. Right? Now, if that's the pshat, amalei, says Rav Yosef to Abaya, the Kisala al Daitcha, Shezah Korav Gam Mizbeach. Guys, when do you put salt on it? At top of the Mizbeach. Guys, there was a whole bunch of salt. You put salt at the top of the Mizbeach. There's no way a Zor is going to be over there. So you can't possibly go ahead and, in other words, we learned Lo Yotzak means what? It doesn't mean Lo Yotzak Klal. It means you did Yitzika, but a Zor did it. And you want to be consistent, loy molach must mean also that it was done, but it was done by a zar. But meaning what? It would be ma'akev if it's not done. In other words, you're learning molach, you want to molach at all. No. Loy malach is loy malach zor, just like loyotzak. On that, Rabbi Yosef tells Abaya, how could you possibly go ahead and entertain that? There's no way that the melicha wasn't done, because after all, melicha has to be at the top of the mizbeach, and there's no way a zor is up there. V'boy is saying, but that's one teretz that it must mean, despite lo yotzak means yitzika al yedei zor, but it was done. Lo molach means lo molach klal, and therefore Rav has held serve. Lo molach means that b'di'eved. It's not, if you don't do it, it's kosher, right? So it's not shver Rav Huna, right? That's the trail over here. Rav Huna, you saying that you have to, Rav, you say you have to double. Rav kind of saying bris doesn't repeat. And you see, it is ma'akev. Rav holds the time like a Mishnah that it's not ma'akev, and therefore why is it not ma'akev? Because it wasn't double. V'boy seima kivin the ksiva bei bris kiman the tana bei the son of beikra damya. Since it says bris, it says the lashon by bris melach. It says lashon bris, so therefore it's what it's like it's repeated, and therefore what Rav agrees. Rav agrees that what it's ma'akev. According to this teretz, guys. According to the first teretz, it's not ma'akev. Loy malach means loy malach kal. According to this teretz, right? Loy malach means that what? That it is ma'akev. So it is. We have a pasuk that what? The end of the pasuk says al kol karban takriv melach, and so you see it is repeated. So guys, here's what we're going to do now. We're going to say that repetition was not to tell me it's ma'akev. That repetition is for a different halacha, right? We need that pasuk v'chol kaboncha min chasav melach timlach al kol kaboncha tachrif melach for the following. Ilu nerma korban b'melach. If it would just say korban b'melach, shamei ani afilu eitzim v'dam. I would say you have to salt even the wood and even the blood. Shenikru korban, because both eitzim and dam are called korban. And since it says val kol korban chatakriv melach, since they're called korbanis, I would say the dam and the eitzim also need salt. Tamaloima, the pasuk says v'chol korbancha min chascha b'melach. It says lashon mincha. Ma mincha miyuchedes she'acherim bo'in chayv Allah. Just like the mincha is unique, and this is very important. She'acherim bo'in chayv Allah. Other things are burnt as a result of it. In order to bring the mincha, you need eitzim, guys. In order to bring the mincha, you need eitzim. Why? Because you have to burn it. So the nakuda over here is, in order for melach, it has to be something that is brought as a result of something else. Therefore, the eitzim, which are a mincha that is muchid, acherim bon nedavaloi, av kol she'acherim bon chayv. So it has to be a chayv as a result of it. It has to be brought as a chayv of it. If you look at Rashi, guys, acherim boyin la chayva shetzrichim eitzim lahaktara. You need eitzim to wash, to burn. Af kol shetzrichim eitzim tuna melach. Yatsu eitzim v'dam. Guys, does eitzim need eitzim? Fellas, eitzim doesn't need eitzim. Eitzim itself is burnt. In other words, in order to be melach, we're taking the word mincha and we're defining what has to be salted, something simcha lamelach. Melach needs the eitzim to burn it. So too, something that needs eitzim to burn it would require salting. Does dam need eitzim to be burnt? Of course not. Dam is not burnt. It's sprinkled. Does eitzim need eitzim to burn? No. You don't need eitzim to light up the eitzim. The eitzim themselves are lit up. So mimela, you want to include eitzim. No, eitzim don't have to be burnt. So says the Gemara, you might think eitzim, that since they call karbanis, Tamadlaima mincha. Mincha will define and say eitzim and dam do not require salting. Why? Because of the quality of mincha. What's the quality of mincha? Ma mincha miyuchedesh acherim ba chayv Allah, that you need the eitzim to burn it. Af kol shacherim ba chayv Allah. Excluding what, guys? Eitzim and dam. Because eitzim don't need eitzim and dam doesn't need eitzim. Ima mincha miyuchedesh shemateres. Now, mincha is unique. It matters, the koimitz matters the shirayim. I would say what has to be salted, av kol shemata, right? So to anything that is a matir, avi dam shematir. I'll therefore say dam, which is mata, the emurim to be burnt and the basar to be eaten also needs salting. In other words, you're taking one component of mincha, fellas, the component that it needs eitzim to burn it. You're taking that component. There's another component, the mincha, it matters something, right? The koimitz matters the mincha, the shirayim. So if you look at that component, then the dam also will require salting, because the dam matters the emurim. Guys, you good? You know, we're going ahead and extrapolating from mincha what has to be salted. We excluded eitzim and dam from the fact that something else doesn't come as a chayv. But one second, mincha also has a component, it matters. If that's the case, it matters. Hu hadin, that what? You should include, hu hadin, we should include dam meaning salty, because dam is the matter. Tamad loimer, me al minchascha, v'loi me al damcha. But from your, on your carbon, but not on your salt. Okay? So, in other words, so you're right, from the component of mincha, I can't exclude dam, but I have a pasuk to exclude dam. What's the pasuk? Me al minchascha v'loi me al damcha. Yochelte mincha kula tuna melach. Oh, I might think the whole mincha needs melach, even the shirayim. Guys, I might think the whole thing needs salting, even the shirayim. Therefore, the pasuk says carbon. A kol carbon, carbon toyin melach vein mincha kula tuna melach. Only the carbon, only the koimitz, but not v'enli el koimitz. Minayin l'rabes es halavoina. How do you know to include lavoina needs salting? I'll include lavoina because it comes b'kli echad. It comes b'kli echad with the kaimitz, and just like the kaimitz needs salting, the lavoina also is salting. Habab if they atzma lavoina, right? Minayin l'rabbi says lavoina habab if they atzma. What about if a person brings right the lavoina by themselves? We're going to see later on in the Masechta, a person can bring a carbon of lavoina. How do you know that needs salting? And the lavoina, how do you know you have to salt the bezichin of the lechem apanim? For haktoiris, how do you have to salt the ketairis? Minchas kahanim, that doesn't require kmitza, how do you know it needs salting? Minchas kohen Mashiach, every day, the half in the morning and half in the afternoon, right? How do you know that what it needs salting? Uminchas nesachim, how do you know the mincha that accompanies the carbon? Right? Emuri chatas, the emuri osham, emuri koche kedoshim, of the kifsei atzeres, emuri koshim kalim, the emurim of the shlamim and the toida, evari oila, oila sa'oif minayin. How do you know you all need what? Salting. So we have this long brisa, and this brisa is to tell me the pasuk that you wanted to bring. V'chol karbin min choska v'melach timlach al kol korban chatakev melach. You want to say that's the repetition, that it's ma'akiv? No, I need it for these halachas, that all these things we just described. All these things we just described, you need salt. Memel, if I need it for that, it's not a repetition. So if it's not a repetition, it's a kasha from Rav Huna on Rav. According to the opinion that melech is ma'akev, fellas, according to the opinion that melech is ma'akev, correct? You with me? So therefore you don't have a double source. So Rav Huna's question on Rav remains unanswered. If you hold Rav holds like Artana, that melech, the don melech is not ma'akev, it's great. You don't have repetition. If you don't have repetition, it's not ma'akev. According to the opinion that Rav holds it is ma'akev, right? Where's idle chayv, you don't have repetition. That's so, and you're trying to tell me this is the repetition. This repetition is needed for this very long brisa, which we're about to explain. So I hope you listen, right? We're going to go back over it now and explain it, okay? Now, Amamar. Amamar means you're always going back to explain a brisa. Now, it said, Ainli ella koimitz. Minayin l'rabbi says halavoina. How do you know lavoina also needed? We said, it comes, mar b'niyas halavoina, shekein bo yima b'kli echad. It comes in the same kli. Now, l'chayra, lavoina needs, guys, lavoina needs eitzim to burn it? Yeah? So why wasn't it included? Just the fact that it says mincha, and the mincha, that component, the fact that it needs something else to burn it, that enough should include the lavoina. Why do you have to say that it's b'kli echad? Why do you need that b'kli echad? V'amrin ma mincha miyuchedes sha'acheirim bon chayv Allah. So l'chayra, Why does it mean shacheir mechedesh ba'olah? Now, the Mishnah, we're going to learn the Brisa and say the Brisa was missing something, fellas. You understand what's going on over here. You told me at the beginning of the Brisa, anything that's similar to Mincha, that it needs something else, that it schleps along Choiv to burn it, is included. Then you said it comes to B'kliyachad, like Epis. What's going on over here? So now we're going to redo the Brisa and we're going to add some components. Hachi Kamar. Ema Korban Klal. Korban is a Klal. Mincha is a Prat. Klalu Prat. When we say a Klalu Prat, the Chol Korbancha Minchascha, right? Korban Mincha. What's a Korban Mincha? Klalu Prat. Ein Bechala L'mashe Beprat. Mincha in Midi Achrin Eloi. I would say the only thing that needs salting is the kaimitz. Guys, the only thing that needs salting is the kaimitz. Korban Mincha. What's the korban of the Mincha? The kaimitz. So that's all I would know. Klalu prat, ein bechlal el mashem prat. The prat is the kaimitz. So that would be the only thing that requires salting. Amar, then the pasuk says, al kor kaboncha, it says, al kor kaboncha takif melach. That's the end of the pasuk. Klalu pratu klal. You just made a klalu pratu klal. So memela, I'm not going to limit it to the mincha. I'm going to go ahead and extrapolate anything that's doimel to the mincha. Good? Similar to the mincha. Now you have that. Just like the mincha includes acherim boyin lo, that's eitzim, right? Eitzim that burn it. Af kol shacherim boyin chayvola. Anything that needs to be burnt, right, will go ahead and be included. Acherim deba chayvola maininu eitzim. Af kol ha'eitzim. You need eitzim to burn. So too, anything that needs eitzim to burn would be what included in the kalu prato klal. So in other words, initially it was limited to mincha the kaimitz. By saying al kor kaboncha takif melach and making to a kalu prato klal, I'm now telling you anything that's similar to the mincha. What's similar to the mincha? Something that needs something to burn it. Okay. The Ema says the Gemara levoina. Ema levoina. Now levoina comes because of mincha. Now, if the levoina, so now let's take it a step further, guys. The levoina is coming as a result of the mincha. So anything that comes as a result of something else should also need salting. Therefore, the I see dam, the ikin is sachim. The havamina is, guys, the dam causes the sachim to come. So, guys, again, look at me. We're taking the word mincha and we're going ahead and extrapolating nekudos. So the nekuda we extrapolated is eitzim. That anything that needs eitzim. Says the Gemara. Let's say just like mincha causes the levoina to come, anything that causes something to come would require salting. So dam goes ahead and causes the nesachim to come. If dam causes the nesachim to come, then dam also should require salting. Said the Gemara, nesachim b'hadei imurim hu da'asa. The Nesachim don't come as a result of the dam; they come because of the imurim. And einachinami, the imurim do require salting. My timer, achila v'shtia, says the Gemara. Achila, right? You're eating v'shtia, right? Yeah, achila is the imurim, and the shtia is the dam. So it says the Gemara. Adarabba, kapara v'simcha. Kapara is the dam. The simcha, and you're happy when the yayin, right, guys? So let's say the dam causes the yayin. Let's say the dam causes the yayin. Not sure, but achila, the shtia is the yayin. Excuse me, I said dam. I made a mistake. Fellas, let's backtrack. I said the wrong words. When it says achila v'shtia, achila would be what? The imurim. Ushtia would be the wine. So the wine comes as a result of what? Of the imurim. Says the Ma'adarabba, kapara of the simcha. Kapara is the dam, yes, that's mechaper, and the simcha is the yayin. So therefore, guys, using the mincha as that causes the levoina, who hadin the dam causing the nesachim. So if the mincha is a matir and you salt, the dam which is a matir, you also should salt. So again, but we're trying to go ahead and say dam would require salting. You can't say it's the imurim that cause it, because the yayin. Other Rabbi, I could say kapar v'simcha. So therefore, guys, I can't use the levaina as a result. In other words, if I'm going ahead and say the levoina is burnt as a result of the mincha, I would have to say the dam is burnt as salt. Excuse me. If you're going to say the levoina is salted as a result of the mincha, you'd have to say the dam is salted as a result of the sachim. So it must be, therefore, what did the Brisa say? It's not because of kol haba b'chayva. It's because of it comes b'kli echad. That's what the Brisa said. That's why you needed a different tam to get off dam. You needed levoina to be going ahead and salted as a result of being in the same kli to get off dam. Because if not, dam would also need salting. So therefore, says the Gemara, el levoina ba ima b'kli echad, nesachem ein ba b'kli echad. Aval eitzim ki heichad miskashra b'hu mincha hachi miskashra b'hu kula min karbanos. Every carbon needs it. So right now we're holding serve. The only thing that needs salting is something that comes as a result that has to be burnt. Because that's what I'm getting from what? That klalu pratu klal. Guys, how are we doing? We're holding good? Again, we tried down. We tried down with that comparison to the Sachim, and therefore we got off that mincha. Why? Because if levoina comes as a result, dam will also come as a result. And the answer is levoina did not come as a result of what? Of the klalu pratu klal. It came as a result of being b'kli echad. And since the sachim is not b'kli echad, therefore dam is out. Fred the Gemara. Now, let's go ahead and analyze that klalu pratu again. Ve'ema maha prat mefurish acherim ba chayva la uma teres. It's two things. One, something comes as a result, meaning the wood. In addition, the koimitz is mata the shirayim. So in other words, until now, you've been limiting it to having one aspect, being burnt. Maybe in order to be salted, you need two aspects, burnt and a matir. Again, if your source is the kalu pratu kal of mincha, then anything that's doimit to that will be salted. Right now, you only have one condition. As long as eitzim are brought with it and burns it, that's it. I'm looking at mincha, I'm seeing a second condition. Mincha is mata the shirayim. Mincha is mata. So maybe you need two things in order to be salted. A, it's burnt, and B, it's a matir. Af kol shachirim ba chayvala umateres. Umayniu levoina haba bebezichin. The shirayim lechem. The only thing maybe that needs salted, guys, would be the bazichin. Why? Because they matter the lechem upon him. In other words, you can exclude a lot of things now. We have a whole long-winded brisa, guys. I can go ahead and get rid of that whole minchas kahanim. Doesn't matter anything. Minchas tesachim doesn't matter anything. That whole brisa we could do away with. If it needs both components, fellas, you'd be limited to one thing: the levoina that's bought with the lechem aponim. A, it's burnt, and B, it's a matir. So how do you know that we only need one component? How do you know maybe you need two components? So the Gemara is asking a very vikta kasha on that whole brisa. If your source is mincha from the klalu pratu klal, I could go ahead and tell you mincha has two components, and the only thing that will fulfill both components is the bezichin that's brought with it. So now the Gemara is going to say the following. Beautiful, guys. This is a beautiful lumdis. If you're telling me that you need two components, would dam be out, guys? Would dam be out? Yes. Why? Because even though dam's a matir, it doesn't accommodate him. Good? Now, when we needed a limud for dam, it said al minchascha v'loy al damcha. You see, you only count one component, not two. A beautiful lumdis. The Gemara, Rabbi is loving it. The Gemara guy says a beautiful guy.
I was about to interrupt and ask that.
So it's geschmack. So guys, why would you need a miyat for dam? It doesn't fulfill the two components. Elama, you see, there's only one component. What's that one component? That eitzim is brought with it. Beautiful, beautiful. It says the Gemara, Midi itzrich mi'al minchascha, v'loy mi'al damcha, michlal dahanach kuloi ase b'chad sad. It must be all of them, that long brisa that I went ahead and just listed, it must be, since they all are burnt with eitzim, therefore they brought in. Okay, let's see what we just did. Let's have a summary. Okay, because basically it's going to go on a little bit, but we have the okay. The Gemara is a person with high blood pressure's nightmare. It's dealing with a lot of salt. We're dealing with a lot of salt. Good. Now we want to know what's salted, what's salted. So Chayra, I would say everything is salted. After all, kol kavancha takav melach, right? Everything is salted, right? I would say it's ma'akiv. Okay, it's ma'akiv, but not as machloikis. Let whatever what would require salting lichatchila in the first place, right? Okay, lichatchila in the first place. Have long been the brisa, and we're coming out with a klal pratu klal that anything that's similar to mincha in one condition is salted. What's that one condition? That you need that the eitzim burn it. That was the old condition. And if you go over that long brisa, everything over there is burnt. Minchas koyin is burnt, minchas sachim is burnt, all these things, they're all burnt. Right? The Gemara was trying to figure out why not dam. After all, there's if dam is a matir, so we have a pasuk. The pasuk says al minchascha v'lo al damcha. Gzeres hakasef. Now we have gzeres hakasef. Why couldn't I go ahead and take that out? After all, it's not burnt. The dam is not burnt, right? The dam is not burnt. So you need to limit anyway. Because the Gemara foresaw something. There's two conditions over here. There's two conditions over here at mincha. One, it needs eitzim. Two, it's a matir. And if that's the case, I'd be limited to anything salted. I'd have to fulfill those two conditions. What are the two conditions? Again, burnt by eitzim, two, a matir. And the only thing we could figure out that fulfills those two conditions would be the vazichin of lechem aponim. A, it's burnt. P, it's matir, lechem aponim. And what would you do with the whole brisa? Minchas koyim, minchas sachim, how would you do with all of that? I don't know, it won't be salted, right? On that, the Gemara says you have a raya that you only need one condition and not two. When you needed a limud, special limud, to go ahead and exclude dam, because you thought dam would be included because it has a component, it's like, it comes as a result, it brings the nesachim in as a result, just like the mincha brings the levoinin as a result. So you would think dam's included, therefore I have a pasuk, tell me dam is out. Why can I use the klalu prato klal to get them out? Because obviously there's one condition and not two. What's that one condition? Just burnt by eitzim. As a result, then you have the whole brisa. All these things that burnt by eitzim, merely all need salting. Okay, that's it. Says the Gemara Vayt. Omamar, going back over the brisa geshmak. Guys, by Omar, this they never taught you this in yeshiva. How important is Omamar, right? Going back over, the master says it means you're analyzing the brisa. Anytime Omamar means you're analyzing the brisa. Minchascha v'loy me'al damcha. Ve'emaval minchascha v'loy me'al eiverecha. Why do you choose to say mincha and not dam? Say mincha and not evarim. Let's see Taisus, guys. Ve'ema me'al minchascha v'loy me'al eiverecha. Second Taisus in the bottom. Pirish. Evarim leka elachat sad. She'acherim ba choiva. Acherim only have one sad. They're burnt. Ubedam chad sad shemater kemaisa. Umaroyis lidchais evarim ulamayadam ema ibcha. Guys, now you're not in the kalu pratikal, right, guys? You say al minchascha. Look at me. You say the word al minchascha on your mincha, not on your dam. Now, mincha is two things. Mincha is burnt and mincha is a matir. You opted to go that it's not a matir. You could have opted to go, right? That you could have opted to go in the other direction, right? But on something that what is burnt. And said that what? Al minchascha v'loy al averecha. And said what? Only a matir. Guys, you opted to go in the direction of what? Of burning something and not the matir. Why don't you go in the other direction? The matir gets salted and the ivarim don't get salted. Why? Because they're burnt? Okay. Again, mincha has two things. Why do you go in the direction of what? Of burning yes and matir no? Go in the direction of matir yes and burning no, right? You could have gone in that direction. As I frag, according to Taisus. Mistabra evarim havilei l'rebuya. It's geschmack, guys. You know, anytime you have maroyas, the Rabbi says there, guys, you remember I always put my head in the middle and you go to the two sides, right? So now we're going to show why it's more mistaba to salt evarim than to salt dam. Okay, the siman is Aleph Shin Beis Nun Tes Mem Ayin. The Aleph is for Ishim, that they both go on the fire. The Shin is the The shin is right. Is the shin is the ishim. Aleph shin is aleph. Acherim bon chayvela. The aleph is that what it brings in wood as a result. The shin is it's on the fire, as opposed to dam. The base is it's bachutz. Dam can sometimes be born inside the mizbeach hapnimi, guys. A chatas panimius. Avorim are never born inside. So therefore, that's the commonality between Avorim and the mincha. The nun is nicer. There's no din of nicer on dam. There is a din of nicer on what? On mincha, on Avorim. The test is tamei. The mem is meila, and the aleph. There is no limit for the aleph. If you look at the last Taisvis, Kaseh b'svarim sima aleph shin beis nun test mem aleph veina shas mefarish aleph achroina. The shas doesn't explain the last aleph. Mefarish Rabbeinu tam oichel kemaisa. Just like the mincha is eaten, so too the Avorim are eaten, as opposed to dam. Sheragilis l'mloyach oichlin. Right? They're ruggled to go ahead and salt. When they eat something, they salt it. In other words, you eat it when it's salted, so it's just something you do, but it's not a halachic kedin. You happen to salt food, right? But it's not a chumrah or kula, it's the way you're eating. Masha'enkin, all these other distant ishim, dam doesn't eat ishim, and tomei and so forth, there's no tumah by dam because it sits, right? So very geschmack. So therefore, the Gemara is going to bring in these things. Says the Gemara. You want to know why you're going to include Avorim rather than dam to be salted? They're burnt, kamaisa, ishim kamaisa, bachutz kamaisa, noisa kamaisa, tome kamaisa, meila kamaisa amid beis. Smile. Adarabba, says the Gemara, dam havileila rebuye. Dam you should include it. Shekain matir kamaisa. It's a matir like the kaimitz. Nifsal b'shkiyas achama kamaisa, as opposed to Avorim the whole night. Says Mahanich lefishi. Nonetheless, what those are more. So therefore, if you're going to go ahead al minchascha and you want to darshan loyal veirecha loyal al damcha, it makes more sense to go ahead and include a vorim in the ribuy of salting and exclude dam, and therefore al minchascha takrav melach loyal damcha. Amamar shamei ani afilu eitzim v'dam shenikru carbon. So we said before that what I might say eitzim and dam that you need. I might be in the salted. They're called the carbon, and we said no, right? It says man shamalei dama eitzim ikri carbon. Who's the man the that says eitzim is called the carbon? Now you might remember this, fellas. Rabbi, it's Rabbi. You might remember this, that Rabbi says you can go ahead and bring a carbon of eitzim. If that's the case, you'd have to go ahead and grind it down. It would need a kmitza, right? Rabbi said there's a mincha of eitzim. Rabbi mi boy melach. The Tanya carbon malami shemisnavin eitzim. It's called a carbon. Therefore, you can make an adava of eitzim, and it'll be 2 logs. The kama. If you're making an adava of eitzim to the Beis Hamikdash, what would it be? Shnei gezirim. It would be 2 logs. V'cheinu oimer v'agoyrolois hipalnu al kurbana eitzim. So you see, there's a carbon called carbon eitzim. Rabbi Amar eitzim carbon minchein betuna melach. They do need salting, betuna hagasha, and you would have to bring it to the southwest. V'amarava l'divrei Rebbe eitzim tuna kamitza. You don't even need kamitza. You'd have to go ahead and make it into sawdust. V'amar papa l'divrei Rebbe eitzim tzricha eitzim. Eitzim need eitzim. So you got a kasha, fellas. And the Brisa, what did we say? We said that shamei ani afilu eitzim, and then we excluded eitzim. But according to Rebbe, eitzim in fact does need salting. On that, the Gemara says, Some mikan eitzim, right? You should go ahead and take out eitzim. Some mikan eitzim. Okay. So therefore, if you're taking out eitzim, why does the pasuk come to exclude? Right? Why does it come to exclude? The word mincha, why does it come to mayit? In other words, you say eitzim and dam. Ilmute dam, if it's to exclude blood, me'al minchaska nafka. We already know that, right? We know from me'al minchaska, right? So, says the Gemara, afik eitzim v'al nesachim. So go ahead and take out the word eitzim and put in what? And put in the word nesachim, right? And it comes, why does it come to mayit? It comes to mayit, the yayin of nesachim, that it does not need salting. You don't have to salt the wine. The Tanya, hayayin v'hadam v'eitzim v'ktoiris ain't una melech. Yayin dam v'eitzim ktoiris ain't una melech. Now we're going to ask that because obviously it says eitzim, and Rabbi is what is the doesn't include it. We'll see Bez Hashem tomorrow. Guys, Geschmack, very good, right?